Namaste, India. I'm going to discuss a very important topic, something where I want to give you information, educational material, also trigger and provoke some controversy and discussion, because I think Indians need to think more about it. Yeah, the rest of the world is thinking about think tanks and their role. United States has them, Japan has them, China has them, Europe has them. India is beginning to have them, and it's a good time to have a conversation about this. To start with, what I want to say is that I believe that the United States and India are natural allies. We should be very close to each other because it's a dangerous world. United States needs India as much as India needs United States. I don't need to go into all the reasons, all the synergies, military, political, educational, scientific. We have heard that, and I believe in that. In fact, Modi's recent speech summarized a lot of that, and I subscribe to it. I just feel that the relationship should be one as equals, and on the same terms as China is demanding a relationship with United States as equals. It should not be a relationship as a client state, as superior, inferior. China won't accept that. China says we are on par with you and let's build a better world together. But don't lecture to us, don't tell us about human rights, don't tell us, don't talk down to us. There is a certain self-esteem that the Chinese demands. And I think the Indians have started demanding that. And the new government reflects that. But I want to, in this conversation today, in this talk, I want to tell you what are some of the things that could go wrong in this role of think tanks, and it's better right now to be aware of it and to prevent these things. What are many advantages of having these relationships with think tanks in each other's countries, and so on. But first, let me give you what are some of the benefits would be. Think tanks can bring, US think tanks have a high professionalism, and this can help India. It can raise the standards of research and rigor and, publishing and lobbying and all of that in the Indian system, so that you don't have NGOs and uninformed media people kind of rabble-rousing policy. The vacuum in India is a vacuum of good quality think tanks. And I'm glad some good quality think tanks are coming. So I'm going to talk about why we need them and what are some of the issues that they should keep in mind. So first thing I want to mention is that there are 4 different kinds of institutions in the United States that should be differentiated. We should not lump them together. One is grant-giving foundations. Ford Foundation is not a think tank. It does not produce its own research. It has no staff of researchers who write papers and books. It gives money to other people to do that. It outsources all the work. Ideology is Ford Foundation, but it gives a lot of grants to NGOs and various think tanks here and there, CSDS and all that kind of stuff, to do the real thinking work. But Ford Foundation itself does not claim that they've produced this research. Similarly, Bill Gates and Melinda Gates Foundation is giving money to others to do the work rather than, their own research in-house. That's what a grant-giving foundation does. It outsources the work. Then you have academics, universities. Now, universities are different than think tanks because while a think tank has an ideology, it says very openly we are right-wing, Republican, or we are left-wing, liberal, or whatever their position is. Whatever is their policy, their position, they're very open about it. And they are advocating that position very actively in every way they can to bring about change. University, as an institution, does not adopt an ideology. There is no such thing as Harvard endorsing a candidate for politics. They won't do that. Columbia won't do that. Princeton won't do that. Now, individual professors have their ideology, but the institution itself doesn't have an ideology. This is very different than think tanks, where think tanks routinely take a position. So the second difference is that academic people, even at the individual level, while they are clearly taking a position, often they'll pretend like they're very neutral, they're very objective, they have to just give the facts. Actually, The think tank people are more honest. They can put their cards on the table and say, I am pro-Pakistan, I'm pro-India, I'm pro-China, I'm anti-abortion. They can take a position very directly. The academic scholar wants to claim that he's into this, he's above any stance here and there. He's not advocating. It's called proselytizing. They don't want to do that. They just want to tell you the truth. Actually, the reality is that's a sham, because most academic people in the humanities do have a point of view. I mean, they have a personal life, they have a body, they have an ideology, they have a church or synagogue or whatever. And so they do have, and there's nothing wrong with it. But somehow the system pretends like they don't. Okay? And this is a big difference between think tanks and universities. A lot of the work I am doing is more like a think tank than a university, because I have a point of view. I advocate a position. And I want I want to forcefully, argue that position. And I like to debate, challenge, let people challenge, and so on. So this is the difference between universities and think tanks. Then a fourth category is seminaries. Seminaries also are like think tanks. Not only are they training priests, not only are they making, doing evangelism in various places, but they're also doing thinking. They're doing research. They will do a research on what is right or wrong about some religion somewhere. So they're doing comparative analysis, so that when they're training their priests, when the priest goes and meets somebody, he can argue. He can argue his point of view against the other person's point of view. When a Hindu child in the United States is about to marry a Christian or a Jew or somebody, their priest is trained to welcome the Hindu, to convert the Hindu, to educate them from the point of view of their church. The priest in a Hindu temple may not know what to do. If the couple goes to the priest and says, tell us what to do, he will say everything is same, just do this puja, we will do this ritual. But he's not really confident about taking on this issue, because the Hindus don't have the equivalent of seminaries doing this kind of training. So seminaries are also centers of knowledge production, discourse production. They have journals, they have conferences, they give PhDs. So they are also like that. So in a sense, in a nutshell, I have mentioned 4 types of institutions. Funding institutions are those that don't do any thinking or don't produce output themselves. They have an ideology, but according to that ideology, they will give money to other people. They are not producing their own books and so on. They are funding others. Infinity Foundation started out strictly as a funding agency. I didn't have any of my own output. Only in the last 10-15 years I started producing my own. So in a sense, I became a think tank. I used to be a funding agency, giving grants to other people. Then besides these funding agencies, you have think tanks which have their own position. They have staff, they pay them well. These are scholars, expert in certain areas, and they're producing a lot of work. Yeah, so there are many kinds of think tanks I'll talk about. Then there are universities where the institution has no position, but individual scholars can have a lot of freedom. Academic freedom means that the individual scholar is not being told by the university what to do and what not to do. And then you have seminaries, which is a very Christian kind of equivalent of a university and a think tank kind of combined. Okay.
और हमारे देश के लिए अगर सबसे बड़ी एक समाज की मन में एक आवश्यकता है, तो हमारी सोसाइटी हिस्ट्री कॉन्शियस होनी चाहिए. इतिहास को भुला देने वाली समाज व्यवस्था नहीं होनी चाहिए.